The rain hammered down like fists on the windshield, blurring the world into a gray smear of regret. Kyle gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles ached, his voice cracking over the phone as he screamed Alex's name into the void. But the screech of tires and the sickening crunch of metal had already stolen everything his loved. His future, ripped away in an instant on that slick Seattle highway. In the sterile hush of the hospital waiting room, Kyle sat frozen, the scent of antiseptic burning his nostrils like accusation. Nurses whispered condolences he couldn't hear, their words dissolving into the roar of blood in his ears. Alex was gone. 30 years old, vibrant and unyielding, reduced to a sheet-draped form in a room down the hall. Kyle's chest heaved with sobs that tore from some primal place, his hands clawing at the arms of the plastic chair as if he could pull himself back through time. To that morning when Alex had kissed him goodbye with a grin, promising to grab coffee on his way home from the rally. The world outside that window was the same relentless Pacific Northwest drizzle. But inside Kyle, a storm raged without end. He was 28, a graphic designer sketching logos for eco-brands in a cramped Capitol Hill apartment. The kind of guy who blended into coffee shop crowds with his messy brown hair and quiet laugh. Alex had been his anchor, the bold environmental activist who dragged him to protests and forest hikes, who made him believe in fighting for a better world, and in loving fiercely without apology. They'd met 3 years ago at a pride march. Two gay men in a sea of rainbows, locking eyes amid the chants and cheers. Alex's hand had found Kyle's that day, warm and sure. And in that touch, Kyle had found home. Now, home was a void. The apartment echoed with ghosts, Alex's hiking boots by the door, his half-read copy of Walden on the nightstand, the faint trace of his cedar cologne on the pillows. Kyle wandered through it like a specter, days blurring into nights fueled by whiskey and what-ifs. Friends called Jamie from the design firm, offering takeout and awkward hugs. Sarah, Alex's sister, leaving voicemails thick with her own grief, but Kyle couldn't face them. Not yet. The funeral was a haze of black umbrellas and eulogies, where Kyle stood at the grave in Queen and Cemetery, rain mingling with his tears as dirt thudded onto the casket. He whispered promises to the earth. I'll keep going, babe, for you. But keeping going felt like betrayal. 2 weeks in, the silence grew claws, scratching at his sanity. That's when Max entered the picture, not as a savior, but as a stubborn reminder. Alex's golden retriever, a lanky 3-year-old with soulful brown eyes and a coat like spun sunlight, had been crashing at Sarah's during the accident. She dropped him off one gray afternoon, leash in hand, her voice gentle but firm. He needs you, Kyle. Alex always said you two were a package deal. Max padded into the apartment, sniffing the air with wary curiosity, his tail thumping once against the floorboards. Kyle knelt, burying his face in the dog's golden fur, inhaling the familiar earth and pine scent that screamed Alex. Hey, buddy, he murmured, voice breaking. Miss him too. Huh. Max leaned into him, a low whine escaping his throat, as if the dog understood the fracture in Kyle's soul. That night, they curled up on the couch, Kyle with a sketch pad he hadn't touched in weeks, Max's head heavy on his lap, and for the first time, sleep came without nightmares. Mornings became routine, fragile as frost. Kyle would clip on Max's leash, the click echoing like a lifeline, and they'd venture out into the drizzle-slick streets of Capitol Hill. The neighborhood pulsed with life, baristas calling orders at Victrola Coffee, queer couples hand in hand under shared umbrellas, but Kyle moved through it numb, Max's steady trot the only rhythm keeping him upright. The dog pulled him toward Discovery Park, Alex's favorite escape, where trails wound through old-growth forests and the Sound crashed against rocky shores. Kyle hadn't gone since the accident. The memories were too sharp, like shards of glass underfoot. One crisp October afternoon, 3 weeks after the crash, Max changed that. Kyle was fumbling with his keys at the apartment door when the dog bolted, leash yanking from his slack grip. Max. Wait. Panic surged as Kyle sprinted after him. Sneakers slapping wet pavement. Heart pounding with irrational fear of losing the last piece of Alex. Max darted down Pine Street, weaving through pedestrians, his golden blur vanishing around the corner toward the park. By the time Kyle caught up, breathless and cursing under his rain jacket, Max had stopped at the edge of the forest trail. The dog sat poised, ears perked, nose twitching toward a massive Douglas fir that loomed like a sentinel. Its roots bulged from the earth, cradling a hollow beneath the trunk, damp leaves carpeting the ground in a mosaic of decay and renewal. Max whined, pawing insistently at the dirt, his eyes locking onto Kyle's with an urgency that pierced the fog in his mind. What is it? Boy. Kyle dropped to his knees, mud seeping through his jeans, hands trembling as he brushed away the foliage. His fingers brushed something solid wood, weathered and rough, half buried like a secret the earth had tried to claim. A box. Small. No bigger than a shoebox. Its lid etched with faint carvings, a tiny rainbow flag intertwined with fern leaves. Alex's signature doodle from their protest posters. Kyle's breath hitched, a sob clawing up his throat. He pried it free, the wood groaning in protest, and cradled it against his chest as rain pattered on the leaves above. Max pressed close, nose nudging Kyle's arm, as if urging him to open it. But not here. Not in the open wound of the park. Kyle stumbled home, box tucked under his jacket, Max trotting faithfully beside him. The apartment door clicked shut, and he sank to the floor, the weight of it all crashing down. Inside the box lay fragments of their life, a stack of Polaroids from their first pride. Alex's grin wide as he hoisted Kyle onto his shoulders. A pressed wildflower from their Olympic Peninsula road trip, its edges brittle with time. A USB drive labeled "Our Mixtape" in Alex's looping scrawl. But it was the letters that undid him dozens. Folded neatly, dated from their first date to just weeks before the accident. The top one, addressed to "My Forever Hiker," trembled in Kyle's hands as he unfolded it. Kyle, if you're reading this, it means I've gone ahead without you. Don't hate me for it. Life's a wild trail. Remember, we hiked that one in the Cascades, the one with the storm that nearly washed us out. You held my hand through the lightning, said we'd face anything together. This is my lightning. But listen, under that big fir in Discovery Park, the one we carved our initials into last summer, K and A. Hearts and all ivy buried more than memories. There's a seed in here. From the redwood grove we dreamed of planting. Plant it for me. Grow something new. Love you more than the stars over the sound. Keep walking. Babe. Alex. Tears blurred the ink. But Kyle read it again. Then again. Until the words etched into his bones. A seed tiny. Leathery. Wrapped in wax paper nestled at the bottom. Beside a note, redwoods don't forget their roots. But they reach anyway. Alex, ever the activist, had planned this. A final act of defiance against endings. A whisper of growth amid the grief. That night, Kyle dreamed of Alex, not the broken body from the wreck, but the man who danced with him in the kitchen to old folk tunes. Who'd whispered, "I see you," during their quietest fights. Max snored at his feet, the box open on the coffee table like an altar. Dawn crept in, gray light filtering through the blinds, and Kyle woke with a resolve as fragile as the seed in his palm. He clipped on Max's leash, box in hand, and headed back to the park. The fir tree waited, roots like welcoming arms, and as Kyle knelt to dig, the first real spark of something hope maybe flickered in his chest. But planting wasn't simple. The soil was stubborn, clumped with roots and regret, mirroring the tangle in Kyle's heart. He thought of the early days, how Alex had pulled him from his shell. Kyle had been 25 then, fresh out of design school in Portland, crashing on friends' couches after a bad breakup with a guy who'd called him too sensitive. Seattle had been a fresh start, rainy anonymity where he could sketch in peace. Then Alex, at a volunteer fair for the Sierra Club, all fire and freckles, had spotted him fumbling with a poster board. "Need a hand, artist," he'd said, his voice like warm gravel. And just like that, the ice cracked. Their first date was a hike up Rattlesnake Ledge, Alex's idea. Of course, Kyle had grumbled about blisters. But halfway up, with the valley sprawling below like a promise, Alex had stopped, turned, and kissed him. Slow, deliberate, tasting of trail mix and possibility. "You're braver than you think," Alex murmured against his lips. Kyle had laughed it off, but deep down, he believed it because Alex did. Now, 3 years later, that bravery felt buried under the fur. Same as the box. As Kyle patted the soil over the seed, Max digging beside him with enthusiastic paws. A jogger past mid-30s. Athletic build, with a kind nod and a beautiful spot for it. Kyle managed to smile, the first in weeks. But inside, doubt gnawed. What if nothing grew? What if this was just another empty gesture? Winter settled in like a heavy coat. The holidays a gauntlet of forced cheer. Sarah invited him to her family's Christmas in Tacoma. But Kyle begged off, claiming work deadlines. Truth was, the thought of twinkling lights and toasts to absent loved ones twisted his gut. Instead, he holed up with Max, baking gingerbread from Alex's recipe, lopsided stars and trees that tasted of cinnamon and salt from his tears. On New Year's Eve, alone with a bottle of Pinot and the mixtape playing on loop, Springsteen's Thunder Road, fading into Bon Iver's ache, Kyle scrawled his first letter back. "Alex, it's not fair. You left me the dog and a seed and these words that cut too deep. I planted it, like you asked. Max helps, she pulls me out, makes me move. But the apartment's too quiet without your laugh. Remember that time in the Olympics, when the fog rolled in and we got lost? You said, trust the trail. I'm trying. God, I'm trying. Love. Kyle." He burned it in the sink, watching flames lick the edges, ashes swirling down the drain like released prayers. January brought ice storms, sleet rattling the windows, and Kyle threw himself into work. Jamie noticed the chain-sharper designs, bolder colors in his eco-campaigns. "You're channeling him," she said over lunch at Elliott Bay Book Company, her eyes soft. Kyle nodded, throat tight. "Channeling. Yes. But surviving. That was the mountain he couldn't yet crest. Max, bless his slobbery soul, wouldn't let him stagnate. The dog had taken to walks of purpose, veering off their usual paths to sniff out hidden corners of the city. One February morning, as snow dusted the evergreens, Max tugged Kyle toward a community garden in Fremont, where volunteers bundled against the cold, planting bulbs in raised beds. Kyle hesitated at the gate, the box's seed echoing in his mind growth. Roots. Reaching. An older woman with silver-streaked hair and a name tag reading Eleanor waved him over. "Your pup's got the right idea. Joining us." Max wagged furiously, dropping a muddy stick at her feet. Kyle shrugged, mumbling about needing fresh air, but stayed. His hands, calloused from sketching pencils, sank into the cold soil, planting tulip bulbs alongside strangers who shared stories of lost gardens and second chances. Eleanor, a widow who'd lost her wife to cancer 5 years back, squeezed his arm. "Grief's like this, dirt messy, but it feeds what's next." That night, Kyle pulled out the box again, sifting through the letters like talismans. One from their 1-year anniversary. Kyle, you make the world brighter, even on days it's pouring. Promise me we'll always chase sunbreaks together. He traced the words, remembering that Vancouver trip. How they'd driven north in Alex's beat-up Subaru. Windows down, singing off-key to the Lumineers. The border guard had raised an eyebrow at their intertwined hands. But Alex just grinned. 2 Americans. 1 heart. They'd laughed about it later. Over poutine and promises. Spring teased Seattle with erratic warmth. Crocuses pushing through cracked sidewalks like defiant hopes. Kyle checked the fir tree weekly. Max bounding ahead. But the ground remained Barreno sprout. No sign. Doubt crept back, whispering that Alex's gesture was just that, a pretty illusion. Work piled UPA big contract for a queer youth nonprofit. Sketches of intertwined hands breaking chains, and Kyle poured his ache into them. Deadlines blurring with dreams. One evening in April, after a 12-hour stint at the studio, Kyle found himself at a support group in the basement of a Pike Place church. Sarah had slipped him the flyer. No pressure, she'd said. The circle of folding chairs held faces etched with similar shadows. A trans woman mourning her partner. A non-binary artist grieving a parent. Kyle spoke haltingly at first. Voice raw. He was everything. And now Max the dog keeps dragging me forward. Like he knows something I don't. The group leader. A soft-spoken man named Theo with a rainbow pin on his collar. Nodded. Animals have a way. They don't grieve like we. Hey, live it out. Paw by paw. After overweek coffee, Theo lingered. I'm organizing a memorial hike for lost loves next month. For Pride Prep. You and Max should come. Kyle demurred, but the seed of it lodged deep. Pride season loomed. The city gearing up with flags and festivals. A reminder of joys now tainted. He and Alex had marched every year. Alex's sign reading, "Love Grows Wild." Kyle snapping photos for his portfolio. This year, the thought soured his stomach. Celebrating without him felt like erasure. Yet Max had other plans. The dog took to pawing at the door at dawn, whining until Kyle relented. Their walks lengthening into explorations. They discovered a hidden grove in the arboretum. Dogwoods blooming pink against the green, where Kyle sat on a fallen log and journal draw pages of anger. Longing. Fragments of Alex's voice in his head. Keep walking. Babe. May brought the first miracle. A tender green shoot pierced the soil under the fir. Fragile as a heartbeat. Kyle knelt there for an hour. Max's head on his shoulder. Tears watering the earth. It was tiny. Vulnerable. But real. Growth. He snapped a photo. First one in months. And texted it to Sarah. He's starting something. Her reply, so are you. The memorial hike fell on a sun-dappled Saturday. Trails alive with the scent of salal and sea air. 30 souls gathered, queer folks of all stripes, carrying photos and stories like lanterns. Theo led with quiet grace, sharing his own loss, a boyfriend taken by AIDS in the 90s. Before the cocktails, Kyle hung back at first, Max's leash loose in his fist. But as the group paused at an overlook, the sound glittering below, he found words. Alex died in a crash. He was my trail guide. Left me letters. A seed. This shoot's the first thing I've seen come back to life. Murmurs of "that's beautiful" rippled through. And a young guy, early 20s, with dyed blue hair and a stutter, approached after. I'm Riley. Lost my dad last year. To cancer. Your story. It hits. Mind if I walk with you a bit? They fell into step. Max trotting between, and Riley's chatter, nervous at first, then animated about his poetry. Zines the knot in Kyle's chest. No sparks. Not yet. But a bridge. Human connection. Tentative as that sprout. Summer unfurled in rare heat waves. Seattle shedding its gray for golden haze. The redwood cedno sapling now stretched toward light, its needles whispering in the breeze. Kyle visited daily, sketching it into his designs, incorporating the motif into the nonprofit campaign, Roots Entwined. Branches reaching, a symbol of resilient love. Jamie high-fived him at the reveal party. This is you, Kyle. Rising. Pride weekend arrived like a tidal wave. Kyle almost skipped the march, the box's letters his excuse to hide. But Max pawed at his pride, tea-faded rainbow from their last year together, and Sarah showed up at dawn, coffee in hand. He'd kick your ass if you bailed. They joined the throng on 4th Avenue. Drums thumping. Signs aloft. Queer in here. Love wins still. Kyle carried Alex's placard, Riley marching beside, their laughter bubbling up amid the cheers. That night, at a rooftop after-party in Belltown, under strings of lights and the hum of bass, Kyle danced. Not wildly, but present body moving to the rhythm. Grief a shadow, not a chain. Theo found him later, clapping his shoulder. Proud of you. And in the crowd, Riley's eyes met his. Shy but steady. A question unspoken. Fall circled back. Leaves turning the park to fire. The sapling stood knee-high, sturdy against the wind. And Kyle buried a new letter at its base. Alex. It's been a year. The world's still breaking fires. Floods. The fights we started. But I'm walking. Met someone who stutters when he's excited. Plants poetry like bulbs. Thank you for the push. Love grows. Babe. It does. Kyle. Max. Graying at the muzzle now. Led him home through the cooling dusk. The city lights winking like approvals. Under the fur, roots deepened unseen. And in Kyle's heart, the same. Loss hadn't ended him. It had planted him anew. The trail went on, winding toward whatever sunbreak waited next. As autumn deepened, the air crisp with the promise of frost, Kyle found himself lingering longer at the fir tree. The sapling's branches had fanned out, catching sunlight in delicate fans that reminded him of Alex's fingers tracing patterns on his back during lazy Sundays. He'd started a ritual, mornings with coffee from the thermos Alex loved, sitting cross-legged in the leaf litter, reading aloud from the box's letters. Max would flop beside him, ears flopping, as if listening too. It was therapy without the couch, a dialogue with the wind. Work had become his compass. The nonprofit campaign launched to quiet acclaim, a series of murals popping up in soda warehouses, intertwined roots in vibrant sprays of color. Kyle's name was on the credits, and with it came invitations, panels at design conferences, a guest spot at a queer art walk in Pioneer Square. He accepted them all, each step a defiance of the numbness that had nearly claimed him. You're glowing. Jamie teased over Foe at a Capitol Hill spot, her chopsticks waving like conductors' batons. Alex would be smug as hell. Kyle laughed, a real one that crinkled his eyes. He'd say it's the dog vitamins. But truth hummed beneath. The glow was his own, hard-won from nights when he'd paced the apartment. Box open. Wrestling ghosts. The USB mixtape played on repeat, those dark hours. Alex's playlist's a time machine of stolen moments. Their road trip to Joshua Tree. Windows fogged with desert heat and whispered dreams. The quiet anniversary in a Rainier cabin, where Alex proposed not with a ring, but a vow etched on birch bark, till every season. You. Riley had woven into those seasons unbidden. Their post-hike coffees evolved into weekly scribbles at Elliott Bay. Kyle sketching layouts while Riley read drafts from his zine poems, raw as open veins, about a father's absence and the ache of unlived lives. You're good at this, Kyle said once, tapping a stanza about fractured light. Riley blushed, blue hair falling over freckled cheeks. Says the guy turning grief into art. Fair trade. It wasn't romance. Not yet just two souls orbiting, drawn by shared fractures. Riley was 24. A barista poet crashing in a collective house near the university. His stutter fading when he warmed to a topic. He idolized Alex's activism, peppering Kyle with questions. Did he ever chain himself to a tree? For real. Kyle shared stories over walks with Max, the sound's rhythm underscoring their steps. One evening, as fairies horned in the distance, Riley slipped a folded poem into Kyle's hand. Roots remember / the storm that split them / still they lean / toward light unpromised. Kyle read it under the covers that night. Max's snores a steady counterpoint, and felt the lean himself. Not toward Riley. Exactly. But toward possibility. He wrote back in his journal, Alex, it's weird having someone ask about you without pity. Like you're still here. In the stories. Don't be jealous, it's your fault for making me brave. Thanksgiving loomed. A minefield of family rituals. Sarah insisted on hosting. Her Tacoma home strung with lights and the scent of turkey brine. Kyle arrived with Max in tow. The dog a buffer against the awkward pauses. Sarah's kid's nephew Timmy. 8 and obsessed with superheroes. Niece Lila. 5 with pigtails and opinions adopted Max instantly. The golden retriever rolling for belly rubs amid squeals. Sarah pulled Kyle aside in the kitchen. Flour-dusted apron hugging her frame. You've got color back. And that sprouts how me picks. Over pie. Stories flowed. Alex's infamous pie fight at last year's gathering. How he'd smeared Kyle's face with pumpkin and kissed it off. Laughter cracked the tension. And when Timmy asked, Uncle Kyle, what's the tree for? He answered simply, to remember how love grows tall. Sarah's eyes welled. But she raised her glass, to Alex. And to us. Still standing. Driving back under sodium-lit freeways. Max's head on the passenger seat. Kyle felt the weight lift fractionally. The accident's anniversary neared December 15th. A date circled in invisible red. He'd planned solitude. But Theo texted, group vigil at the park. Candles and carols for the gone. Optional. It read. Kyle replied yes before doubt could intervene. The night was bitter. Stars pricking the velvet sky as 24 gathered around the fur. Candles flickered in paper bags, casting golden pools on faces upturned. Theo started with a reading from Whitman, a sing the body electric, his voice steady as a heartbeat. Then shares, a woman for her son. Lost to overdose. A couple for their stillborn. When Kyle's turn came, he held the flame close. 1 year. Feels like yesterday and forever. Alex left me this tree. This dog. These words. He said keep walking. So. Here I am. Riley was there. At the circle's edge. His poem tucked in Kyle's pocket like a talisman. After. As embers died. He fell in step. That was powerful. They walked to Kyle's car. Breath fogging. And in a moment of unscripted grace, Riley hugged him brief. Bone deep. You're doing it. Walking. Winter solstice brought the longest night, but also the turn toward light. Kyle marked it alone. Baking solstice cookie star-shaped. Dusted with sugar like snow with Max underfoot. Begging crumbs. He strung lights around the apartment. Soft glow chasing shadows. And played the mixtape till dawn. The letters called. He read the last one. Dated days before the crash. Kyle. If the worst happens. Know this, you were my sunbreak. Plant the seed. Find the next hike. I love you to the horizon. Hey. Dawn painted the walls rose. And Kyle woke to Max's cold nose. The dog's eyes expectant. They drove to the tree. The sapling a silhouette against hoarfrost. And Kyle whispered thanks to the wind. Change was incremental. Like rings in Woodgrief's layers building strength. January thawed into tentative green. Seattle's rivers swelling with melt. Kyle's mural series expanded a commission for the waterfront. Roots climbing pilings into sky. Riley collaborated, inscribing poems along the base, from fracture. Flourish. Their hangs deepened, a poetry slam where Riley nailed a piece on inherited silences. Kyle cheering from the front row. A rainy movie night. Brokeback Mountain on the couch. Tears shared without shame. But fractures lingered. One March evening. Sketching by lamplight. Kyle's pencil snapped, frustration boiling over the blank page. Max whined from his bed, and Kyle hurled the pad. Pages fluttering like wounded birds. What now? Alex. The tree's growing. But I'm still stuck. He collapsed, sobs racking, until Max nosed a fallen photo, him and Alex at the beach. Waves licking their toes. Riley called later coincidence or canine intuition. And they met at a dive bar in Ballard. Neon buzzing. Over IPAs. Kyle spilled, the rage. The stuckness. Riley listened. Stutter quiet. Then, stuck's okay. It's the pause before the push. He slid a new poem across the table, in the hollow slash where hurt hides slash a hand extends slash not to pull, but to hold. Kyle held it, and Riley's hand across the scarred wood. Not a spark, but a steady flame. That night, walking Max home, Kyle felt the lean intensify toward this gentle soul, toward the man Alex had urged him to become. Spring equinox aligned with cherry blossoms. Petals carpeting the U district like confetti. The sapling neared waist high, its bark roughening, a testament to endurance. Kyle hosted a small gathering at the tree. Sarah, Jamie, Theo, Riley, picnic blankets and stories shared. To Alex, they toasted with cider. And as laughter rose, Kyle realized this was family, woven from loss and light. Pride approached again. Older now, Kyle designed the march's official T-Roots rainbow-veined. Slogan Grow threw in marched front and center. Riley's hand brushing his in the crowd. The energy surged. Drums and dances a heartbeat collective. And for the first time, Kyle chanted without reservation, love wins. Love grows. Summer solstice found them at Golden Gardens. Bonfire crackling. Max chasing fireflies. Riley read aloud. Voice steady. And when the poem ended, he turned to Kyle. That line about leaning. It's us. The kiss was soft. Inevitable salt and smoke. Hands tentative on cheeks. No rush. No replacement, just two men. Pausing together before the next trail. As leaves turned once more. The cycle complete. Kyle stood at the fir. Max silver muzzled at his side. The tree sapling no more towered. Branches sheltering the box's secrets. He'd added his own letters. A dialogue eternal. Alex. It's 2 years. The world's still wild. But I'm hiking it. With Riley. With Max. With the roots you left. Thank you. Love. To every horizon. Kyle. The dog nudged his leg. Nose to the path ahead. Kyle clipped the leash. And they walked on, grief a companion. Not a chain. Love. A living thing. Reaching ever upward. The second autumn after Alex's death brought a harvest of quiet victories. Each one a leaf turning gold in Kyle's hands. His designs had caught the eye of a national magazine out's annual Queer Creatives feature. A spread on roots of resilience, with the waterfront murals as centerpiece. The photo shoot was a whirlwind, Kyle in his element. Directing angles under the gulls' cries. Max photobombing with tongue-lolled glee. Riley tagged along, scribbling notes for a companion piece. His presence a steady hum that no longer surprised Kyle. Back home, unpacking the issue, his face on the cover. Eyes shadowed, but sure Kyle traced the glossy edges. Alex would have framed it. Teased him mercilessly, my famous boyfriend. Saving the world one sketch at a time. Instead, Kyle propped it on the mantel beside a new photo, the four of them. Riley. Sarah. Jamie at the tree's first birthday. Champagne flutes raised to the camera. Family. Fractal and fierce. Riley's zine had launched too. A chapbook titled Hollow Holds. Sold out at its release in a cramped university district bookstore. Kyle attended. Front row again. Pride swelling as Riley's voice carried stutter conquered in the cadence of verse. Afterward, over falafel wraps on the Ave, Riley grinned sheepish. Your story's in there. The hike. The seed. Hope that's okay. More than okay, it was collaboration. The kind Alex championed. Their evenings wove tighter, collaborative sketches where Kyle drew landscapes and Riley inked poems within. Dog walks that stretched into dusk confessions. Riley sharing his father's slow fade from addiction. The guilt of survival. You make it feel lighter, Riley said one twilight. Their fingers interlacing on the bench overlooking Lake Washington. Kyle squeezed. Heart full. You make it shared. But shadows lengthened with the days. The accident's second anniversary fell mid-November. A Thursday gray as grief's underbelly. Kyle woke to rain lashing the windows. Max's whine pulling him from tangled sheets. No work that day had blocked it out. A mercy to himself. Instead, the box called from its shelf. Letters yellowing like old bones. He drove to the hospital first. The sight of that endless wait. The lobby had changed new chairs. Brighter paint, but the vending machine hummed the same indifferent tune. Kyle sat where he had, imagining Alex's voice over the intercom, page Dr. Ramirez. Tears came hot, unbidden, and he let them. Max's head in his lap anchor. Then to the highway overpass. Pull off stark against the evergreens. Flowers wilted in cellophane at the guardrail. Tributes from strangers. Kyle added his, a single redwood clipping. Tied with ribbon. The cemetery next. Queen Anne's Hills mist-shrouded. Alex's stone red Alexander James Hale. Beloved activist. Eternal hiker. 1995 to 2023. Kyle traced the dates. The chasm between them. Miss you. He whispered. Voice cracking. But I'm okay. Better than okay. Max sniffed the grass. Tail low. As if paying respects. Riley met him at the tree after. Thermos of mulled wine in hand. No words at first, just sitting. Shoulders touching. The sapling's branches rustling approval. When Kyle spoke of the drive. The stones. Riley listened. Then pulled a small journal from his pack. Wrote this last night. For the day. He read. Anniversaries ache / like frostbite thawing / numb to nerve / but in the burn / we remember warmth. They buried it there. With a sprig of holly. And walked home hand in hand. Max leading. Dinner was takeout Thai. Spicy enough to chase chills. And laughter crept in Riley's impression of Theo's Whitman recitals. Kyle's tale of Max's squirrel obsession. Bed came easy. Bodies curling like roots. Riley's breath even against Kyle's neck. Not a cure, but a comfort profound. December danced in with holiday bustle. Seattle's lights a constellation of coping. Sarah's Tacoma feast was grander. Timmy and Lila now versed in Uncle Alex's tree. Demanding updates. Is it taller than me yet? Timmy quizzed. Measuring against his height. Kyle chuckled. Ruffling his hair. Getting there. Kiddo. Just like you. New Year's found them at Theo's Solstice Reduxa potluck in a Fremont warehouse. Queer elders swapping tales by fire pit. Kyle shared the magazine clip. Met with whoops and hugs. Riley debuted a new poem. Dedicated to hands that hold through hollows. As midnight struck. Confetti swirling. Kyle pulled Riley close amid the cheers. Their kiss a seal on the year gratitude. Not desperation. Winter's grip loosened into a wet January. Rivers raging with thaw. Kyle's feature led to a solo exhibit at a small gallery in Pioneer Square, trails untrod. sketches and poems intertwined. The tree's progression documented in time-lapse panels. Opening night buzzed, collectors murmuring. Jamie toasting with Prosecco. Sarah beaming from the corner. Riley hovered, anxious, until Kyle drew him on stage for the toast. This is for Alex, who planted the first seed, and for Riley, who helped it bloom. Applause thundered, but Kyle's eyes locked on Riley's blue hair catching the spots. Smile wide and wondrous. Backstage, amid crates, they kissed fierce, hands mapping familiar paths. Proud of you, Riley murmured. Of us. February's Valentine's was low-key, a cabin rental in the Snoqualmies. Alex's old haunt. Snow blanketed the peaks, fire crackling in the stone hearth. They hiked snowshoes max bounding through drifts and, at the overlook, Kyle unpacked a gift, a custom sketchbook, cover carved with their initials. KNR amid ferns. Riley's eyes misted. His return was a locket with a tiny redwood charm. Engraved lean on. Nights blurred in warmth stories by lamplight. Bodies entwined without urgency. Just presence. Tell me about your first love. Riley whispered one dawn. Snow falling soft outside. Kyle did, a high school fumbling in Portland basements. Fear-laced and fleeting. Riley shared his, a college crush on a roommate. Unrequited but illuminating. Vulnerability bridged them. Deeper than desire. Spring equinox heralded renewal's rush. The tree measured chest high. Branches laden with new growth. A beacon for park strollers. Kyle led a workshop their queer grief and art for Theo's group. 10 souls sketching under the fir. Start with a root. He instructed. Demoing curls on paper. Riley facilitated shares. His stutter a gentle rhythm. One participant, a young widow, clutched her drawing. It's like permission. Pride swelled the city again. Rain holding off for once. Kyle's teas sold by the stack. Grow through a mantra chanted blocks away. Marching with Riley. Max's bandana rainbowed. Felt like triumph love not lost. But layered. The after-party rooftop thrummed. But they slipped away early. To the apartment where it all began. Candles. Mixtape low. They danced slow, Kyle leading. Riley's head on his shoulder. Happy 2 years. Kyle said. Though dates blurred. Riley smiled. To many more trails. Summer baked the streets. Heat mirages dancing. The exhibit toured Portland first. A homecoming where Kyle spoke at his alma mater. Riley opening with poetry. Audiences leaned in. Questions probing. How do you balance memory and moving on? Kyle paused. Honest, you don't. You carry both. Like roots and branches. Back in Seattle, they adopted a routine, weekend getaways with Max. Fostering the saplings, sibling seeds from Eleanor's garden. Planted in pots for the community plot. Riley's zine evolved into a series. Hollow Holds, volumes of healing. Kyle illustrating covers. Their love deepened in increments, a stutter-free proposal for a joint reading tour. Kyle's yes a whisper against lips. Autumn wove in with harvest moons. The tree's canopy a golden dome. 2 years post-accident. Kyle hosted a full-circle picnic group expanded. Faces new and familiar. Stories cascaded. Theo's marriage after decades single. Sarah's promotion fighting for green policies. Kyle raised his glass. To Alex. The original planter. And to all we've grown. As dusk fell, Riley pulled him aside. Under the branches. I love you, he said. Simple. Stutter silenced by certainty. Kyle's heart swelled echoes of Alex's vows. But fresh. Forward. Love you too. Max barked approval. Chasing shadows. The trail stretched on. Roots remembering. Branches Riachinga life not replaced. But richly renewed. With the third fall's colors blazing. Kyle's world had shifted from monochrome ache to a palette of earned hues. The tree, now a sapling no more, but a young redwood straining toward maturity, had become a landmark dog walkers pausing to admire. Kids pressing noses to bark, whispering wishes. Kyle had hung a small plaque at its base. Discreet, planted in memory of Alex Hale. 2023. Love grows tall. Donations trickled in via a QR code for reforestation. Queer youth programs Alex's activism alive in every scan. His career crested waves he'd never charted. The magazine feature spawned a book deal, Sketches from the Storm. A memoir graphic hybrid blending letters, drawings, Riley's interwoven poems. Deadlines loomed like friendly rivals. Kyle typing at dawn while Max snored. Riley brewing coffee with a kiss to his temple. "You're unstoppable," Riley murmured. And Kyle believed it. The words a bomb once foreign. They'd moved in together that summer, a cozy craftsman in Wallingford. Gingerbread trim and a yard for Max's romps. Boxes unpacked revealed treasures, the original box from under the tree. Enshrined on a shelf. Alex's Walden. Dog-eared. Riley's zine stacks mingling with Kyle's pads. Nights were symphonies of domesticity cooking stir-fries to Springsteen. Debating plot twists in indie flicks. Bodies finding rhythms new but reverent. Yet depth demanded reckoning. The book's outline forced Kyle to revisit the crash's anatomy, not just the headline horror, but the prelude, Alex's late-night text from the rally. Crowd's electric. "Babe. Home soon." The call from dispatch. Kyle's world fracturing mid-sentence. Therapy entered the frame. Theo's referral to a queer-focused counselor named Lena. Sessions in a sunlit office overlooking the locks. "Grief isn't linear," she said, her voice like river stones. "It's a forest loops. Dead ends. Sudden clearings." Kyle brought Riley once. A joint session unpacking their paces, Kyle's rooted steadiness. Riley's fluttering flight. "I worry I'm rushing you," Riley confessed, fingers twisting. Lena smiled. "Love isn't a race. It's the map you draw together." They left hand in hand. Lighter. And that night, Kyle penned a letter for the box, "Alex. The book's coming. Digging deep hurts. But it's honest. Riley's my co-cartographer. Grateful. K." Winter wrapped them in wool and warmth. Holidays a tapestry richer. Sarah's feast included Riley now. Timmy dubbing him Uncle Bluehair. Lila demanding poem recitals. Gifts exchanged. Kyle's hand-carved hiking stick for Riley. Etched with trails. Riley's leather journal for Kyle. Pages seeded with pressed leaves. New Year's at the warehouse again. Theo's fire pit aglow. Resolutions shared like sparks. Kyle's, to honor the past by living fully. Riley's, to stutter less. Love more. January's rains fed the tree's thirst. Shoots multiplying, volunteers from the garden club tending satellite plantings along the trail. Kyle keynote a conference in San Francisco. Nerves jangling on the flight. But the stage welcomed him, slides of the fur. Voice steady recounting the box's discovery. Q&A delved gentle. How did the dog know? Laughter rippled. Kyle shrugged. Max just did. Like love instinctive. Back home, Riley greeted with takeout and a reading from his latest draft. A sequence on eco-ecology's loss rippling outward. New growth in the waves. Their intimacy evolved. Layers peeling to trust, mornings tangled in sheets. Afternoons sketching side by side. Evenings with Max's head on both laps. No ghosts haunted now. Alex was ally, not intruder. Spring burst verdant. Equinox workshops swelling to 20. The circle under the tree, a microcosm of healing. A new face Marcus. A burly firefighter grieving his brother sketched a flame root hybrid. Sharing haltingly. Kyle mentored. Riley poetized. And as blossoms rained, Marcus said, "This place. It's sacred." They nodded. Knowing. Pride's crescendo hit fever pitch. Kyle's book pre-orders spiking amid March merch. They let a contingent grow through banners high. Mac's mascot invest energy electric as Alex's rallies. The rooftop party pulsed. But they danced till sweat slick. Riley's laugh free. Kyle's heart syncopated. Summer's zenith brought the book's releasia launch at Elliott Bay. Shelves groaning under stacks. Readings alternated, Kyle's prose grief. Riley's verse hope. Audience rapped. Sarah teared up front row. Jamie hooped from back. Signings stretched hours. Strangers hugging. Your story saved me. In the green room after. Riley pulled Kyle close. We did this. Fall's harvest moon illuminated the 3rd anniversary December again. But softer. Kyle traced the ritual, hospital vigil. Highway tribute. Cemetery whispers. Riley joined fully now, adding his own clipping. A poem folded small. At the tree. Candles multiplied. The group converging unbidden Theo. Eleanor. Even Marcus with a lantern. Shares circled, milestones. Stumbles. Kyle closed, 3 years. The hollows filled. Not empty. Thanks to you all. Riley's arm around him. Max at feet. Kyle felt completion not endpoint, but continuum. The book soared. Reviews praising its tender ferocity. Tours booked coast to coast. They traveled light, backpacks. Max boarded with Sarah. Hands linked on trains. Stories swapped in motel diners. Autumn deepened. Leaves a carpet for the picnic's return 40 now. A proper feast. Toast to Alex. To absent ones. To presents woven. As stars pricked. Riley knelt not dramatic. Just writing simple. Redwood inlay. Will you hike forever with me? Kyle's yes was tear-choked. Embrace fierce. Max barked. Circling joy. The trail. Eternal. Welcome them roots deep. Branches wide. Love's growth unbounded. For falls in. The redwood shadow stretched long across the trail. A verdant guardian etched into park lore. Whispers of Alex's tree drew pilgrims. Couples carving initials discreet. Kyle enforced no knives. Solo walkers leaving notes in a weatherproof cache. Kyle and stallid griefs aired. Hopes planted. The sapling phase was myth now. This was stature. Branches humming with birdsong. A living elegy. Kyle's book had crested bestseller whispers. Sketches from the storm optioned for a Doka short by a Seattle filmmaker interviews under the fur. Max cameo king. He balanced it with teaching, adjunct at Cornish College. Graphic design infused with narrative. Students wide-eyed as he demoed grief lines, curves that twisted before straightening. Art isn't escape. He'd say. It's excavation. Home with Riley was harmony honed. The craftsman bloomed, Riley's poetry nook by the bay window. Kyle's drafting table scarred with eraser ghosts. Max's bed a throne of faded quilts. Morning started shared oatmeal spiced with Alex's cinnamon trick. Coffee black for Kyle. Milky for Riley easing into days divergent, yet dovetailed. Evenings converged, collaborative projects. Like the nonprofit's annual report. Kyle's visuals cradling Riley's words. Depths plumbed yielded treasures and tempests. The film's raw footage unearthed forgotten reels home videos Alex shot on his phone. Grainy clips of hikes. Kyle's laugh captured mid-stride. Screening alone first. Kyle wept, joy for the man on screen. Sorrow for the silence after. He shared with Riley over wine. Projector flickering. He's so alive. Riley held him through replays. Then, as are you. Let's add our chapter. Therapy evolved to couples check-ins. Lena's office now a touchstone. They unpacked Riley's insecurities, fear of being second. The stutter's resurgence under stress. You're not sequel. Kyle affirmed. Fingers laced. Your continuation. Riley's turn, probing Kyle's overprotectiveness. Born of loss. I want to stumble with you. Not just steady. Growth. Mutual. Winter's hush blanketed the 4th anniversary. December's ritual refined. Kyle drove the route meditative. Riley shotgun with Thermos Tales poems composed en route. At the hospital, they lingered in the lobby, imagining alternate endings. Highway, a joint letter burned at the rail. Ashes to wind. Cemetery, Riley read fresh verse over stone. Time tempers the tear slash into translucent strength. Tree vigil swelled 50 flames. Faces familiar and new. Shares a symphony of survival. Holidays hummed hybrid, Sarah's Tacoma core. Then a queer solstice with Theo's crew. Gifts intentional, Kyle's handbound anthology of their joint works for Riley. Riley's star map of their first hike. Constellations named for moments. New Year's danced into dawn. Resolutions refined. Kyle's embrace the unknown. Riley's voice without veil. January's deluge nourished. The tree's cache overflowing. Kyle curated a digital archive. Anonymized stories fueling a podcast tie-in. San Francisco keynote redux. This time with Riley co-presenting. Their duet on collaborative creation, sparking standing ovations. Q&A intimate. How do you honor the lost in love's new shape? Kyle, by inviting them to the table. Spring's equinox workshop burst seams 30 under the canopy. Waitlist growing. Kyle and Riley tag-teamed. Art and word weaving. A teen. Non-binary and newly orphaned. Sketched a root heart. This gives me. Ground. They exchanged cards. Promises of coffee. Pride's pulse quickened. The march a river of color. Kyle's updated tease grow deeper flew. Doku crew filming snippets. Rooftop revelry led to a quiet vow renewal under stars. Riley's ring glinting as they swayed to bond Ivor commitment casual. Cosmic. Summer sun gilded the book tour's finale, East Coast swing. Boston to Brooklyn. Readings packed. In a Harlem bookstore. An elder approached post-signing. Your tree. It's my metaphor now. Planted one for my Lewis. Gone 40 years. Kyle hugged him. Tears twin. Fall's 5th harvest moon-crested full. The craftsman fragrant with pumpkin bread. Riley's bake. Kyle spice. Anniversary eve. They hiked the original rattlesnake ledge. Pax light. Max spry despite years. Summit view unchanged. Valleys verdant. Horizon haze. Riley unpacked a surprise. Engraved compass. True north, us. Kyle's gift. Vows rewritten. Read aloud to the wind. Promises of stumbles shared. Joys amplified. The picnic evolved to festival. Blankets to booths. Local artists vending under the tree. Music lilting. Hundreds cycled through. Toast collective. As twilight deepened, Riley took the mic. For years for Kyle's loss. For our love. To roots that remember. Branches that beckon. Kyle watched. Heart brimming. Alex's grin in memory. Riley's in flesh. Max at his feet. Silvered but steadfast. The trail forked infinite. But they walked it woven grief's gold thread in love's grand tapestry. 5 autumns post-accident. The redwood's crown brushed low clouds. A colossus in miniature commanding the trail's bend. It starred in city guides, Seattle's grief grove, tourists snapping pics. Locals leaving offerings, stones stacked. Ribbons tied. Kyle moderated it gently. The cache now a community board. Stories digitized into an app he'd co-developed with a student. Coda-rooted voices. User-submitted healings. Alex's legacy coded eternal. The Doka short premiered at SIFF. Seed of the storm. Red carpet casual in jeans and tees. Clips of the crash site blurred tasteful. Focus on box and bloom. Interviews raw. Kyle's voice cracking on letters. Riley steady on partnership. Q&A overflowed. Did faith play a role? Kyle, in the forest. Yes, and resilience's quiet theology. Post-screening party bust. Theo toasting. To Alex, the unseen director. Kyle's adjunct gig bloomed full-time. Cornish offering tenure-track narrative design chair. Infusing curricula with eco-ethics, how stories sustain. Students flocked. One cohort launching a mural mile in the Central District. Roots motif viral. Riley's poetry chair at the university complimented. Their syllabi syncing for crossover, seminars art poetry hybrids drawing droves. Home was haven refined. The craftsman expanded with a studio shed. Walls lined joint works canvases where Kyle's inks bled into Riley's script. Max, grizzled patriarch, held court from his window perch, barking at squirrels with diminished vigor but undimmed spirit. Routines ritualized, Sunday suppers with Sarah's brood. Timmy now teen tall. Lila's poems aping Riley's. Bi-weekly game nights with Jamie's crew. Board games laced with inside jests. Intimacies interwove profound. The book's sequel, Gestated Branches Beckon. Forward-focused. Riley co-author. Outlining unearthed Kyle's latent fears, obsolescence. Love's fragility. What if the tree falls? He voiced in Lena's office. Riley nodding beside. Then we planned again. She countered. Cycles. Not catastrophes. They emerged fortified. Date nights, deliberate ferry to Bainbridge. Picnics with wine and Whitman. Winter's 6th anniversary dawned crystalline. Ritual rote, yet reverent. Drive contemplative. Riley narrating audiobook drafts. Hospital, shared silence. Then laughter over imagined Alex pranking nurses. Highway, collaborative collage burned. Images of hikes layered. Cemetery, Riley's elegy. Years layer like loam/fertile for footfalls forward. Tree, pyre of 70 candles. Circle vast. Voices a chorus new grievers. Old guardians. Kyle's share, 5 years. The hollow. It's home now. Echoing with echoes. Holidays harmonized. Tacoma turkey. Solstice salon with carols queer-coded. Gifts evolved. Kyle's bespoke hiking boots for Riley. Saul's etched trails. Riley's constellation quilt. Stars sewn for anniversaries. New Year's Eve under the tree. Confetti biodegradable. Resolutions recited to the group. Kyle's cultivate curiosity. Riley's compose courage. January's squalls seeded spring's surge. The app hitting 10K users features in The Stranger. TEDx invite. Kyle's keynote in Vancouver ironic border, hop drew cross-border crowds. Riley opening with bilingual verse. Q&A bridged, how's the dog faring? Laughter. Max dictates edits. Equinox expanded the workshop to retreat weekend in the Cascades. Cabins and canvases. 30 souls sketching souls. Kyle facilitated freeze. Riley prompted poems. Bonfire catharses crackled. A veteran. Queer and war-widowed. Gifted a carved walking stick for the miles. Pride's Pride swelled mega. March megaphone for Rooted Voices booths. Badges. The tree live-streamed. Tease tertiary now. Focus on forum panels. Kyle moderating Love's long arc. Rooftop respite. Slow dances. Riley's whisper, you're my sunbreak. Summer's solstice scorched. Tour triumphant LA to NYC. Readings raucous. In a village cafe. A fan shared, your box. Inspired mine for my ex. Post-breakup. Kyle signed her copy. Hug lingering. Fall's 6th moon waxed wise. Craftsman cozy with chili simmering. Anniversary prelude. Olympic Peninsula loop. Cabins and clams. Max's last big jaunt paws arthritic, but eyes alight. At the beach. Waves whooshing. Riley unpacked rings renewed vows voice to surf, through squalls and sunbreaks. I choose you. Picnic transcended, festival full-fledged. Stages and stalls. Tree tinted for talks. 500 souls. Toasts thundering. Riley's mic moment. 5 falls fallen. 5 loves lifted. To the planters. The partners. The paths. Kyle. Arm round waist. Max dreaming nearby legacy layered. Love limitless. 6 autumns etched. The redwood's bowl broadened. Bark etched with weather's whisper. A veteran of winds that once felled lesser trees. It anchored eco-tours now resilience ramble, guides reciting Alex's tale. Cache evolved to interactive kiosks. Voices voiced via QR quests. Kyle curated sparingly. The tree autonomous. A testament tending itself. The Doku garnered festival nods out fest laurel. Streamed on PB sparking speaking circuit surge. Kyle headlined Pride, keynotes nationwide. Riley tandem poet. Their duo dubbed the root and rhyme. Academia anchored, tenure granted. Sabbatical plotted for a transmedia project VR trail through Grief's Grove. Students scripting scenarios. The craftsman creaked content, shed studio a sanctuary. Walls wallpapered collaborations graphic novels nascent. Kyle's visuals vivifying Riley's verses. Max's muzzle milky. His bed bedside. Breaths bellows to their dreams. Rituals rooted. Family Fridays with Sarah's expanding clan Timmy's braces gleaming. Lila's chapbook budding. Monthly mixers with meta-mentors. Theo's wisdom wine paired. Vulnerabilities voiced yielded vistas. Sequel spine snapped open old ache skiles, orphan origins. Foster flits fostering flight. I fear fading. He confessed to Lena. Riley riveted. Then flare brighter. She urged. Riley's reveal, imposter pangs post-plaudits. Stutter shadow. Your verse incarnate. Kyle countered. Sessions seeded strength. Saunters post-therapy to Salal-scented shores. Winter's 7th anniversary arrived armored in frost. Ritual rhythmic. Route retraced reflective. Riley's recitations rhythmic. Hospital, hypothetical histories hashed. Hilarity healing. Highway, holographic homage. AR app overlaying memories. Cemetery, Riley's rhapsody. Season scribed the scar slash into story's spine. Tree, 90 flames. Throng thriving. Testimony's title. Kyle's kernel, 6 years. The Echo. Ensemble now. Holidays helix, Tacoma tradition. Solstice symposium with symphonic scores queer carolers crooning. Gifts gestated. Kyle's globe-girdling itinerary for Riley. Sabbatical synced. Riley's relic box for Kyle. Compartments for letters layered. New Year's Nexus under Aurora app. Resolutions resonant. Kyle's quest quietly. Riley's quest querulously. January's Jades juiced the app to 50 journalism jolt. NYT nod. Vancouver Encore Electric. Bilingual bonanza. Q&A quantum. Max's role. Moral compass. Ferd. Equinox escalated retreat to residency month in Medhow Valley. Meadows and Muses. 40 fellows forging. Kyle kindled kinesthetics. Riley roused refrains. Hearth hearts hammered home. A migrant mom. Queer and quartered. Quilted a root rug, roots roam. Pride's pantheon peaked. Platform for app alpha boots beta testing. Tree telecast. Panels proliferated. Kyle captaining legacy loops. Rooftop reverie, Rumba's rhythmic. Riley's rhyme, you're my rhyme. Summer's sextant steered tours Zenith Global Glitch. London to Lisbon. Lecterns luminous. In a Lisbon library. A librarian confided, your seed. Sown in my soil for my Sophia. Kyle's embrace eternalized. Fall's 7th moon mellowed. Craftsman canopied in cordwood. Anniversary anthem, Cascade Circuit. Crest conquered. Max's memoir milepause printing last legacies. At the ledge. Legacies layered, Riley's relic ring. Rune's runic vows vaunted to valleys, in every echo. Ever you. Picnic pulsed planetary, fest fractal. Forums fermenting. Tree tableau for transmissions. 700 hearts. Harmonies heaving. Riley's refrain, 6 seasons sown, 6 symphonies sung. To the sours, the singers, the soars. Kyle. Entwined. Max murmuring narrative nested. Now navigable. 7 autumns adorned. The redwood's realm rippled wide. Rhizomes rumored underground. Linking lesser lives in silent solidarity. It headlined horticultural hits, urban oracle botanists blogging its bounce back. Kiosks kinesthetic with keypads for kin tales. Kyle consulted cursorily. The colossus communal. A catalyst catalyzing. Doku's dividends diversified, Emmy echo. Educational embeds in high school humanities. Kyle curated curricula. Riley rhymed resources. Their tandem tapped for TD The Trail Within. 10 million views. Vignettes viral. Tenure trailblazed. Sabbatical Sabbath, VR verdant. Virtual visits to the void. Users unspooling, unburdened. Craftsman Chronicle, Studio Sanctum sprawling. Solarium for seedlings redwood relatives repotted. Riley's roses rambling. Max's mantle, emeritus. His vigil vestigial, but vital. Velvet snores serenading. Rhythms revered, kinships quarterly. Timmy's tracksuit tales. Lila's lyric leaps. Minter melds monthly. Theo's tomes traded. Introspections intensified infinities. Sequel summit scaled Kyle's schism successus specter. Solitude siren. Am I adrift? Talina. Riley rapped. Anchored anew. Affirmed. Riley's reckoning, acclaims abyss. Authenticity essay. Your axiom. Kyle avowed. Dialogues distilled daring. Dawns dedicated to dreams deferred. Winter's 8th world white. Anniversary attuned. Traverse trance-like. Riley's riffs rippling. Hospital, histories hypothesized. Humors heightened. Highway, holos heightened. Hauntings hallowed. Cemetery, Riley's requiem. Cycles carve the cleft slash into cathedral calm. Tree, centenary candles. Conclave colossal. Confessions cascading. Kyle's coda, 7 years. The chorus. Complete. Holidays harmonium, Tacoma tapestry. Solstice soiree with scores soaring chorale queer. Gifts graven, Kyle's kaleidoscope for Riley. Colors captured. Riley's reliquary for Kyle. Relics resonant. New Year's nebula. Notions novel, Kyle's nurture nuance. Riley's navigate noise. January's jewels jettisoned app to 100 cackling avalanche. Atlantic essay. TED tandem transcendent. Toronto twist. Q&A quintessential. Trees teaching. Tenacity. Equinox exalted residency to refuge quarter in Quinault. Quiescence quilted. 50 souls sutured. Kyle catalyzed creations. Riley rendered refrains. Firelit forums forged. A activist anti. Allied and aged. Amulet ed and acorn. Ancestors approve. Pride's pantomime peaked. App apex arenas augmented. Tree trended. Panels paramount. Kyle conducting narrative nodes. Rooftop rapture. Reels revolving. Riley's rondelle. You're my rondelle. Summer's septet summit tours terminus Tokyo touch. Talks transcendent. In a Tokyo tea house. A trans teacher testified. You're hollow. Hallowed my home for my Hiroshi. Kyle's kinship kindled. Fall's 8th orb orbited. Craftsman cloaked and conquers. Anniversary aria, Olympics odyssey. Oceans orated. Max's memento march pause paling but proud. At the strand. Strand strung, Riley's rune ring redux. Refrains renewed vows vaulted to vapors. In infinity's ink. Indelibly you. Picnic paragraph paradise, fest fabled. Fates fusing. Tree transcript for truths. Thousand throng. Threnodies, thrilling. Riley's rondo, 7 sunsets set. 7 sonnets scored. To the sculptors. The scribes. The skies. Kyle. Conjoined. Max Meditative Odyssey, ongoing. Opus open.